really at a point in time where we're witnessing the revitalization of TV content and TV content in a new distribution model that unlocks all sorts of creativity and innovation that we can work together to make the experience better for consumers at the receiving end of our business models, but also the advertisers as well.
So you have a unique perspective on investment and innovation. Could you share that with us?
Yeah, so like I said, advanced media is a new title that, tries to basically mash together two things that typically aren't thought of, two disciplines that aren't thought of together, investment and innovation. And I say that because I believe that that's exactly where we need the innovation most in this business and how we invest in our business models. And the main business model that we have manifests itself in our upfront marketplace, which is the largest, most robust, fastest moving media marketplace in the world. And that's why it's been around so long. But I believe that the business model we operate in has been essentially the same and has evolved very little over decades. And if that begins to evolve, I think a lot of the other challenges that we have with the ecosystem, in the distribution, in the pipes being connected, and all of those issues will start to resolve themselves a lot quicker.
You have the perspective, which is different from a lot of your industry colleagues, because you focus on the consumer first more than the metrics. Can you talk a little bit about how you bring that into what you do?
Yeah, so at Mediahub, I think that is exactly where our focus is. Our focus is on reaching humans, and different types of humans with the right messages, and we've heard this over and over, in the right place, within the right content and context, right? And that will improve the experience for those consumers and make our messages that we place on behalf of our advertisers resonate more and work better.
What is your perspective on how you galvanize your entire agency to take that view?
I think we remind our agency staff and colleagues that this is about reaching humans. And we need to understand humans are not machines, humans are strange. And getting them to behave and act a certain way is difficult, right? And nailing that down. So I think we have to understand that they are complex. We are complex people, and we have to really understand them, understand who we're trying to reach, what their behaviors are, what their mindsets are, right? In order to do that effectively, and understand that in today's ecosystem, in today's media landscape, we have fewer at-bats with consumers than ever before, and when we do reach them, we need to make those at-bats count. So we need to find some way to break through the clutter and get them to pay attention to our messages.
You've worked in a lot of different places in the industry, and you viewed the business from different purviews. How is your role at Mediahub bringing together all that knowledge?
Yeah, I think my role at Mediahub has been just tremendously beneficial, and that I had a unique role at a holding company level that really gave me a 30,000-foot view of the business model within which we operate in, right, at all levels. So I was able to translate that experience that I had, right, and then go to Mediahub at more of a client level with boots on the ground and talk to our advertisers and our brands about what's going on, the change that's happening, and explain it to them, right, in simple terms, without acronyms, right, to try to push innovation, to try and push change, to try and gain adoption of new ways to transact, new channels to transact in, new ways of reaching humans, new ways of using data, of using platforms, of using technology to really be our friend and actually do that much better. Now I think I'm at the point where advertisers and brands that we have are beginning to understand, but I think are frustrated with the lack of innovation in our business models that would make it more effective and make it clearer the value that they're getting or that they're not getting in the marketplace. I think that in our old model is a bit unclear, and I think if we evolve the model, we can show advertisers that we are able to deliver them a lot more value than what we're showing in our very simple business model that is showing them really less reach and higher costs at the end of the day. And I think if we evolve that model, we can show them actually that the opposite is happening, and we're able to do the opposite with all of the innovation and that's happening with TV content and how it's distributed in new ways and how we can reach them, consumers, humans, more effectively.
So 2 more questions. If you were to look a year from now and look back and reflect on what you think the biggest accomplishments were in 2022, and then look ahead from there, what do you think is going to happen?
I think obviously, the hot topic is measurement, right? I think that's the hottest topic as we lead into the upfront, and I think that the time has come really to have this conversation. That there are multiple measurement partners, there are new data sources, and I think that competition is good. I think it's good for any industry. I think it pushes innovation, and I think that we reached a boiling point where we needed to have this happen. We needed to have it reach this point where we're searching for new partners and new solutions to compete with each other, to basically essentially have multiple solutions that we can use that get at solving different business challenges for different brands, different advertisers that all have different goals. And I believe that we're at the point where we could essentially group different types of advertisers in different categories, right? And ladder them up into really 4 similar business challenges, right? So that we might be able to have, instead of one currency that we guarantee everybody for all, we might have, let's just go to 3 or 4. Why not 3 or 4? I think 3 or 4 could work, where we can have a baseline sort of currency that we use, in this business's legacy to be the bottom line, but then we can peel off different currencies, right? And ladder groups of advertisers, brands, and categories into those currencies and try them and do them at scale. So we get out of these singular, customized currencies and tests that aren't able to scale across our industry, so that we can really evolve and build a marketplace, an upfront marketplace for the future, right? That supports, right? What people need to realize, I think, in this business, and fail to, but I took a step back and realized this, is that, and I think it took the 2020-21 upfront for us all to realize this, the upfront marketplace that we have is a good thing, because it underpins investment in data, in technology, in content, in humans to do all the work on all the sides. It brings certainty to the marketplace. It brings certainty to costs for our advertisers, to their budgets. So having a marketplace, a baseline marketplace that brings the certainty that the upfront brings, I think is really important, and we should know that and support it and innovate it and make sure that it exists for a long period of time to support our business. And so I encourage anybody who's listening to this, I don't have it all figured out, but I have some ideas, And I'm happy to collaborate on how we can do this, and so I encourage anybody to reach out to me and talk about how we might be able to do that.